Hey, welcome everyone. This is Payload Pat, and we're back at it again with another banger. Today we're going to be talking about a few things: sidecars and volume. So shared volumes and how containers within a volume can share that volume, just like a standard like EFS or like an NFS, like a network file share, and you'll be able to go ahead and make changes to the one like the actual volume, and both pods, well, both containers should be able to see the updates and the changes in that shared volume. And what we're going to be also doing is talking a little bit about the different types of volumes. Specifically in this use case, we're going to talk about the empty dir volume. Um, Versus like a persistent volume, which I'll go over as far as in a sec as well. So hope you guys are ready to go, and yeah, hope you learned something. So let's go and get to it. Okay, it's cadence. All right. So with that out the way, let's go ahead and do this. Let me hopefully I'm not. So that should be it. I think it's this one. This one. All right, so first things first, I'm just going to create a simple pod, but I need it to run a certain command. So I think something might be in my history that I was working with Terrell on the other day. Okay, it might be this. Is it this? All right, yeah. So we're gonna switch it up a little bit. All right, you all will get your CK. So we all will. So in this case, we're just gonna make it a scenario where we have to create a container, or well, a pod that runs this command, right? And it needs to go ahead and create this message, and needs to print this message with today's date, and it needs to go ahead and echo this in the standard output, sorry. And we need to go ahead and append that to a file called CKA message.txt. And this / CKA is going to be the volume that we need to create. So now that we have that, I can go ahead and do a control C, and I'm just going to have you guys see that. So I'm going to do first, let's create the initial pod. So K run pod is going to be called multi container, something like that. All right. And then now we can go ahead and do the dash as image. And the image I want to use is Nginx. I'm just going to use Nginx. Nginx. Then we're going to do the, let me just do dash dash. We're going to do dry run, right? So dry run equals client, because since I'm going to create multi-pod, like multi-container, I just need to go ahead and get a quick way to have a manifest file that I can quickly modify to my liking. So this is where the dry run command is going to go ahead and be useful for. And then we can do -O for your output. And our output is going to be YAML. And next thing I want to do is I want to run this command, right? So run this command, I can do the two dashes, which means arguments. In this case, my arguments are going to be sh -c, or shell -c for command, I believe. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this command. Oh, I need to change that, but let me copy this. And I need to do it in single quotes because I have double quotes inside here. So it would not work if I didn't do that. All right. So with that being said, and whenever you're doing the dry run equals client and you're actually running a command, the dry run needs to be before the command that you're using. And make sure you put it in those quotations, because it won't work. So if you do shell -c and then just a command, you're going to get an error. So those are two things that I want you to go ahead and make sure that you remember. And dry run needs to be in front of the command, because it's just going to assume that the dry run equals client is associated with the command that you have there. So I think that looks okay for now. just to get started, and then we can go ahead and start doing some modifications. So let me go ahead and redirect this into a file called multi.yaml, just to keep it simple. So let's go ahead and VI to multi.yaml, and we should see that there. Let me make sure that there's no questions before I continue on. Some people are having issues opening a link on Safari, saying the link is invalid. Um, if someone can be very helpful and copy the link here, the Chime link, can someone provide that to the group? Can you do that for me, Idris, in the group that we're in, and then on Facebook? I think
All right.
Facebook won't. Can you do it on
Can you do it
Facebook
on
too? If you,
Facebook too? If you... Yeah, sure.
all right, awesome. I
Awesome. I
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Oh, this is something else. Let me close that before I get banned. See, I'm showing info. Chime. Okay, perfect. All right, cool. So back to where we were. So now we have a simple command, right? We have a simple container named multi-container. So I'm just gonna name this. I'm gonna name this main. So I'm naming it main. As far as the name of the container is using Nginx, and it's running this command while true echo date, right? So that looks good, right? So what I need to do as well is I need to create a volume. As far as that they're gonna actually both share. So you just do volumes and then name. So the name of the volume that I want this to be is I'm going to name it my vol, just for simplicity, right? And then my vol name is going to have a empty dir. So empty dir, and then it's going to look like that. So volumes, simple. Volumes are simple. Volumes, you have to have a name for a volume. And the reason why I have the dash here is because you can have multiple volumes. So this is mentioning that I have one volume, the name is my vol, and it's going to be an empty dir in our case. And an empty dir is an empty directory. Essentially, it's saying that for the lifetime of this pod, all of the containers in this pod will be able to share and mount this volume together, so they will be able to access the content in the volume. So it's just like a network attached storage or something like that, like a network volume, like folder, that you can share across your network. And that looks good. So now that I have that one, I need to go ahead and just simply do this in this case, and it can be this needs to be aligned with this. In this case, I'm going to do volume mounts, and it needs to be volume mounts with an S. And the same thing goes. I need to name it, but the name of this volume mount has to match the name of that volume up here. So I cannot change it to whatever I want. It needs to match. So just keep in mind when you're doing volumes and volume mounts, the names they need to be the same because it needs to know what are you referencing. I'm referencing this volume right up here. So that's the easy way to remember that. And then the next thing is the mount path. And then the mount path is simply where do I want this within the confinement of this container? Where will be the volume location? So in this case, since we have this file here that we're creating, right? It needs to associate it with this /CKA. It can be anything. I could have named this, I could have moved this up here and changed the directory to something else. But because we're using this use case, it needs to be /CKA. All right. So simple as that. Again, volumes. We created a name of the volume, empty dir. In some cases, you can mount a volume that's, for example, like a config map or a persistent volume. That's where you will be able to mount this here instead of it being empty dir. But in this case, we're just going to use an empty dir for simplicity. And because you may get asked a question that says you need to have a volume where both containers can share. And this will be the best bet as far as using empty dir. That's what it's going to be looking for you to use. So that portion is done. So now here comes the point where we need to go and add the secondary container, which will make this a sidecar, right? So all I'm gonna do is press escape and then shift V as in Victor for visual mode. And I'm just gonna press the down button, the down arrow. I'm gonna copy all of this. up to here, and then I'm just gonna press Y as far as to yank, or rather, pretty much copy. And right under here, I can delete resources. Just double press D. Then I'm just gonna press P. Oh, I didn't do it. I don't know why. Do this again. It's literally copying that volume, the contents there, and this is just going to give me a whole nother container with all that information that's copied, right? Just so I can make it easier for me. So in this case, what I want to do here is let's tail this command, this folder. So now let's actually rename this to image busy box. So the name of this is going to be, I'm going to name it Sidecar. And then, any questions?
So you're just making another container though, right?
Yeah,
In this, and but using the same command, but you're making it slightly different.
yeah. I'm not using the same command. I just use that to copy it over. So it's just the syntax and format is easier for me to just make my
Oh, gotcha,
changes versus in there making all those updates. So I like to
gotcha,
work
gotcha.
smarter. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
let's go ahead, and all I'm doing is tailing that command. I'm like doing a tail minus F, and then like, you know what? Do I need to do anything? Yeah, I'll just do a tail.
Question. Is there a
Yeah.
difference between when you run the command as an argument versus like having it as a command?
Yeah, there is a difference, and it's related to Docker and how your actual Docker like your Docker image is configured. You know, when you go into Docker, there's a you can run commands in your Docker file. So like you have it where it automatically will run like, Pi app or something like that. There's certain commands in there that you will be able to override inside there, but in this case, it's a little bit more complex as far as when it comes to that. But in the case of like the exam and just like right now and stuff, it won't impact anything. But there is technically a difference between command and the args. But in this case, it's fine. It won't make any big difference.
Okay.
For our case. But good question. So I just need to do let me just tell this. And actually not gonna do that. I'm just gonna run a sleep command. So we're just gonna do sleep. I'm just gonna sleep for 1 day. So I can just do sleep 1D, right? So what I did so far was I just did sleep 1 day because the busy box container, if I don't put a sleep command on it, it's just gonna automatically crash. Like it's gonna automatically shut down because there's no command that is running, which is, it's like I have no purpose, so I'm gonna close. I'm gonna crash. Like I'm not gonna run because there's nothing to run. So we got that done. So now I just renamed the busy box in the image name sidecar. So remember that volume mount is the same as up here. So that won't change on the secondary container. But I want the mount path to be a little bit different. So I want the mount path to be on. Somebody give me a name of a folder that I can go ahead and put this as. What do you guys want it to be? Give me something.
Well, you can put it in the temp. Gee,
Nah, give me an actual folder. I want to get an actual folder that we're mounting. So that's gonna override that. So I don't want it to be that. Give me something
ah,
unique.
ooh, I don't know which one you have.
Sidecar, anything. I'll just name a sidecar since you guys. Oh wait, somebody said something.
Do you want like an existing one,
Ah,
or
let's do
that's
it.
something? Okay, I thought you
Yeah,
wanted
I
an existing
love it.
one. My bad.
Yeah. All right, that's good. It's forward slash something. Let's do that. So we're gonna go ahead and do forward slash something. So now it's again the name is still my vol as far as the container that it's referencing. However, on the sidecar container, that file mount is going to be on forward slash something. And that file mount on the main container is going to be forward slash CTA. So I think we're looking good. I don't see any other issues. So we can go ahead and just like get started on that and save it. So let's see if we get any errors or anything like that. But let's do create. And then we can do minus F for file, and then I'll just go ahead and put multi, and let's see if there's anything that we get. So let me do K get pods. Let's see what we get. Dash W. See what happens. Maybe an error. Shouldn't take that long. Yeah, something's wrong if it's taking that long. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, it says 2 out of 2 ready. I need to be patient. All right, cool. So that's good. It didn't give us any errors. So what I want to do is there's two things we can do. We can log into we can do kubectl logs and no, it wouldn't work because I didn't do the that command for the secondary pot. But what I want to do is let's exec into the that container, right? So we can do k exec minus it, and then we're gonna name it the name of the container. I believe it was like multi-container, and then I can do minus c for sidecar, and then I'm going to run a command as far as the shell command to get in there. So that does that make sense for everyone? So I'm executing or executing into the multi-container or the pod named multi-container. And then the minus C flag is because we have more than one container, I need to reference the container that I actually want to exec into. So I want to go into the container named sidecar, and then I want to run the shell command. So I just want a simple shell, and I should be able to get inside there. So now if I do ls, what do we see? We have that something there, right? Ah, okay, nice. So let's cd into something. And let me ls. And look what we have. We have something says CKA message. So if I do a tail minus F to follow this command, so just going ahead and just like continuously looking at this command, should be able to see every few seconds, every 2 seconds actually, the container that was named the main container is running that command every 2 seconds that we did, the date and that the we all will get our CKA. It's just following it and it's reading it. So that looks good to me. So um, now let's go ahead and exit off of this. And then now I'm going to exec into the other container, which I think I called it main. It says someone's might have said something. Did you have to create a PV or PVC? No. So we're using the an empty directory. So it doesn't need to use a persistent volume or persistent volume claim to go ahead and attach that to the actual container. So this is simply a empty directory or empty dir, and that is simply a container. I mean a volume that you will be able to have multiple pods connect to at the same time. And once the pod is deleted, all the contents inside that empty directory is going to be deleted. So it's not very useful if you need to have persistent data, which is the difference between persistent volume and the empty dir that I just mentioned. Um, so now I did the same thing here. Let me just go ahead and let me exit so I can like, okay, yeah. So yeah, I can see better. So let's go ahead and run that command again. And now I'm inside the main container. So if I do a ls, before I do an ls, do you all remember what volume that that it should have attached to here? I don't know what happened. If you remember that command, it was like CKA or something, right? So let me see. Someone said something. Okay, cool. All right. So let's go ahead and run that command once again. And let's do an ls. And at this point here, we don't see a folder called something. We see a folder called CKA. So if I do a CD to CKA, ls it should also show that same message, CKA message. And it should also, if I do a tail on this one, F CKA message, it should also txt. It should also say it here. There you go. That's beautiful. So The other interesting part about this is if I go ahead and do a if I exit, yeah, I exited already, and I go ahead and I want to exec back into that sidecar, right? And then let's cd back into the something folder, right? And we have that. So if I do a let me do a echo. This is a file created in the sidecar, right? And then I go ahead and let's put this to side dot. If I do cat side.txt, boom, we have that, right? So now if I go ahead and exit off of this, and then I exec back into the main container, and I go ahead and I cd into CKA. Oh, CKS, that's coming up. Okay. CD to CKA, and then if I ls, it should actually have the other file in there, and I can cat it inside .txt, right? So that's the difference between the volumes, well, the persistent volume and the um, empty dir option, because you may get asked a question where it says create a pod where they can share it with one another, and you need to make sure you're not creating a persistent volume in that case. And if it says something like, creating, it's more likely it will say create a persistent volume. That's when you should create a persistent volume. But if it's something that's like a quick and dirty volume, it's going to look like that. So let's go ahead and exit that, and then I should take care of the volume question. So just to take a look at it again, I want you guys to see what we did. So we named the volume, the pod multi-container. We created a volume, and sometimes you may see, okay, why did I put the volume above containers? It doesn't matter as long as it's aligned with the containers here, just like how it is, will be fine and within the spec side. So yeah, we named the volume my vol, and you see how my vol is going to be the same name for all of them. Right here, the volume out is referencing my vol, and as well as the sidecar container named my vol as well. But I can uniquely decide where I want that mount to go. So the path of this volume can be determined by mentioning the mount path. That's what the mount path is indicating where is this path going to be mounted. What's the path of the volume, and where's it going to be mounted. And then because you can have multiple volumes, so if you create another volume and I only want this container to have access to it, I guess, and mount it, at least I can name it. I can create another one here, like for example here I could do my vol second vol or something like that, right? And this one here, say I want it again, right? I want to get it another one here, so I can do the same thing here. Should v yank e, and I have to name it second -vol, but the mount path also has to be different. So I'm just going to name this one second, right? Save it. So let me do okay, replace -f multi force grace period equals 0. See what we get. Odds again. Sorry, running already. So let's go ahead and exec. And since the first one doesn't have it, the second container doesn't have it, it's not going to see that anymore. So if I do a k exec into the main, I do an ls. Now we still have the CKA, but we should have also that volume name second. So you CD to the second, it should be nothing in there, but that's pretty much is attaching the volume and its name second. So that's what that mount path name is referencing. but again, it's on a totally separate volume versus the CK, which why it doesn't have any contents in it. So um, that's that. So questions, or is that clear? Or any confusion on the volumes and the how it's labeled and mount paths and stuff? We're all good. Okay, okay, okay. All right. So that's that. What I did want to do here as far as to pivot, as just a okay, awesome. All good, great. So the next thing I wanted to do is pivot is just talking about the Cold Cloud Challenge here. Challenge two, I believe. Let's do challenge two. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but let's just open it up and see what it is. And we can just work through this together. So this will be similar to when what we did was like answering all the other questions, like 1 through 20. But this one is a little bit more interactive versus like a test scenario. This is just like a gives you a situation. You got to click on each icon and figure out how to resolve the issues that they present to us related to some Kubernetes setup. So if you haven't tried, it's pretty fun. And yeah, this is one that I guess we can do. Um, Let's see what happens here. I don't know. And I don't remember doing this one, so yeah, it should be a good exercise. So it says this is a two-node Kubernetes cluster and it's broken. We need to troubleshoot, fix the cluster issues, and then deploy the objects according to the given architecture diagram to unlock our image gallery. It says click on each icon and see more excuse me to see more details. And once we're done, we can click check button to test our work. So it first tells us the masternode core DNS deployment has an image here, and we need to fix the Cube API server, make sure it's running and healthy. And it says kube config, root kube config, and user Kubernetes admin cluster server port 6443. Okay, cool. All right, so let's see what we got here. So we got some problems. So let me just do let's do k get nodes, k get and that's get nodes. All right, so we got an error saying couldn't get current API, couldn't get current server API group list, get HTTPS control plane 643 and there's a timeout 32 seconds. So automatically if you are on point, you should know already what looks a little odd and looks a little skeptical. Anyone notice anything that's odd off the bat from just this message?
Oh, the port is off.
What was that?
The port is off.
What should it be?
6443.
There you go. So our off rip, that's something that's a little odd, right? And a little skeptical. So let's go ahead and see how we can resolve that. So fix the Cube API server. So the Cube API server is how you can communicate, from your, with your pods, right? So that's like the brains of your whole entire cluster. So that doesn't work. We're not in good shape. So let me go ahead and see. Um, Kubernetes, NFS, and Cube. Oh, it's VI Cube API server. That's why I didn't pop. All right, so let's take a look and see. That looks good. Server looks good. I don't think it's anything here. So what we need to actually be looking at is this cube config. The cube config is
Yeah, I
where
was
you're
gonna
gonna.
say, ain't they giving us the location?
Yeah, so we need to go ahead and do a VI
Mm-hmm.
into that file here, and let's see what the cube config is showing. Right here.
Yep.
So the kubeconfig server is 6433. It needs to be 6443. Okay. But we need to leave kubelet. Go ahead and system ETL restart kubelet. Someone said something. Oh no, it just said large meeting. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Okay. So now kubelet is restarted because the reason why I restarted kubelet is because it's pulling that kube config, right? So if I do a system, let's do a status of kubelet and you'll see what it does. So status, systemctl status kubelet, it says it's running, right? And it's using that kube config here. Oh, so actually we can change that config varlib. Well, the kube config here is etc kubernetes kubelet.conf, but I don't know if that actually is the same one. So let me copy that and put this, and let's see what we get. I'm going to do a diff, and compare these two files. So if you haven't used the diff command, just tells you the difference between two files. So there's a lot of differences here. All the rights, I believe, the greater than signs is going to be on the this file here and this file. So what I can do is let me do it because I don't think so. If I do kgit nodes, is it working? So yeah, it's still not working. So I can do here is let me do vi or it says var. I believe it's lib kubelet and then config. I believe YAML and oh no, I don't think it's here. This one. So what I want to do here actually is I do a shortcut here because I never remember where this is, but I can go up here, copy this. I do a little cheat sheet, quit. So I copy that right here where it says drop in. I do a CD, and it's gonna say it fell right. But if I do VI the 10 that cube ADM conf, I'm actually going here and change those environmental variables. So the cube config up here, I'm just gonna change the direction and the file where we're using the cube config. So this should wait. Okay, copy this, paste that, and then I'm gonna do a restart again. So, so I just need to do a systemctl daemon reload. Bro. And then let's do a bit of status. Now, let's just say the qconfig is now pointing to here. And I think we can also do the q config. Like if I do a env via config. Oh, it's not. Okay. All right, whatever. But that works. But let's see. Let's see. So there's still something off, right? So let's do a um try cuddle ps. So as we see here, we got a kube scheduler, the kube control manager, weave npc, kube proxy etcd.
That's what it was.
Nothing related to the kube API server. So I'm going to do a cry cuddle ps minus a -8 is going to show all your pods.
When you are showing class that you're a CSS builder, that's good one. But please, what
Oh,
about others? Mr. Olu, I'm not seeing your
Uh-oh.
answer. Mr. Olu of Canada,
Abby.
Mr. Olu of Houston here,
Mute
Mr.
Abby for a
Stephen,
second.
Mr.
Wait, was that Abby? Oh, yeah, it was. Okay. All
oh.
right.
So it looks like the API server or pod or
Oh, wait.
container is timing out or is looping.
Yeah, so it's exiting like every couple seconds. So what we need to do is let's actually look at the logs and see what the logs are telling us. And so we're not like just working in the blind and just guessing. So let me do a K get, well, no, not K. Cuddle logs. That works. Oh, it says no, not what dash previous or something.
I think the previous one is only for like the pod.
Yeah, I think it's
I,
Kubernetes. Oh, cuddle
yeah.
logs. I should be able to get the logs from here.
Hey, the journal CTL would that work? That wouldn't work there.
Yeah, it will work too. But I'd rather go here. So not an error occurred when trying to find container not found because yeah, it's exited. Let me do a cry cuddle. Let's see what we can do. Is it
That was a
inspect?
that was a question I wanted to ask. Like, how
Let
will
me
you
do.
be able to check the journal cuddle if you using the pods instead of the actual service for like a I try to use that on my end and it only able to see like the kubelet unless that would help too. I always wondered that. I was trying to see if there was a way to where we can use kubekiller for the pods.
I'm sorry.
Not kube.
I was.
I'm sorry. I was trying to see if there's a way to where you use journal cuddle for the pods. Like, for example, we try to use like what Terrell said, we use journal cuddle for the pod. If especially if the API, I tried to do that and I couldn't get to it, so I'm trying to figure out how to get there.
That's what we should. Oh no, there's no.
No, because I tried that way, and I think the reason why it's not like that because technically you're not running the service on it. Like
Mm,
it's installed through KADM. Unless you found it. Is that it?
yeah, it looks like it. Okay.
Can you repeat that
Well,
command one more? Not repeat it, but just like up.
yeah, I just grabbed
Okay,
the API. Yeah.
okay.
But I don't think this is gonna give me exactly what I need. What we need is literally in Crycuddle, and I don't know why it's like. Let me see. Crycuddle PS, right? Crycuddle PS minus A image pod ID. Let me try. I guess pod ID. It should still work. Saber says it can't find it. Um,
It says it's looking for a container ID.
Did you do container? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I tried a container. Right? Unless I'm tripping. Control plane, API server, yeah, logs.
There we go.
Oh, there it is. I don't know what I was doing then. I thought it was, but
I've had the same thing. I don't know what it is, but I've had the same exact thing happen.
I thought I did. Okay, but as we see here, there's an error. We got an error that says command failed. Error open etc Kubernetes PKIC 8 authority.crt. No such file or directory. Um, so what should
Hmm.
we do now that we have that information? What do you think we should be doing now with that
Check.
Hey,
information?
I
What
thought
what's
that file name just supposed to be like ca.cert.
Yeah, check to see the file name first. You can go. You can ls into the file. Into the directory, the PKI directory. See what certificates you have.
all right? So
Uh,
manifest.
yeah, typically it's what Terrell said. It'll be CA.
Oh wait, no. Let me go in PKI.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So CA certificate authority.crt. So no, we don't have anything that says that in here. So that means that it does not exist, right? It can't find that file. So for us to go ahead and change that, where do we need to go to make this change?
We need to do it in a manifest file, the K API server manifest file.
Okay, so let's see Kubernetes, manifest, and Q API server, YAML, and we need to go ahead and I'm gonna just do what did it say it was?
It was the client. I mean the TA dash authority, but it's one of the top ones. You crap, you just passed it.
Let's see,
CA authority.
let me just go back up.
Yeah, because those are
Okay.
just the. There you go. It's like in the top.
Fourth line.
It was like the fourth. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Okay. All right. So we're there, and it just needs to be
Just
CA.
CA dot CRT. Yeah.
Okay. Vibes. Okay. Now that we made that change, is there anything that we need to do, or does because it's a static pod, any change that it notices is automatically going to reset?
It's automatically going to reset, but we still need to check to see if it does reset.
Yeah. So let's do a cry cuddle PS, and it may take some time for it to come back up. I don't think there's a watch option, or for me, they
Don't
don't
look
have
like it.
You
one.
have to type out watch.
Dash dash
Is that
watch
is
or
that
just
that watch? I don't even see that on there.
is it just watch? Okay, yeah,
Yep.
it's just
Oh,
watch.
wow. Okay.
Well, no, I don't think is it. I don't think it's gonna. Is it? But
Did you do that watch or just
Is it at the start? I think it's at the start, maybe.
yeah, let me try that.
mm,
Yeah,
there you
there it
go.
goes. All right. So again, it may take some time for it to come up. It was restarting every time, right? So unless there's another error we're getting, that was 3 minutes ago. So it's been a while. I was doing it around like every minute. So if I do, if I do the log, it's that same error. Yeah, it's the same old error. Do I need to restart something? Yes. I feel like if you're impatient, you can probably do like a move. You can move it out of that file and then move it back in. I'm gonna do that. So I'm just gonna cd / etc Kubernetes manifest, then ls, and I'm just gonna move the Cube API server, and then I'm just move it back to the old folder. So ls shouldn't be in there more. Let me see back. Ls move it back into there. So Cube API server, and I'm just gonna move it back into the manifest folder. I should force it to do it, unless I'm missing something here, and I could
Static
be.
pods are static pods created by the kubelet?
the Cube admin?
Yeah, the Cube ADM.
Mm-hmm.
ADM.
Yeah, the
I
Cube.
think
The
you
Cube. Go ahead.
I think you can restart um Cube Cuddle or Cube Let. One of them you can restart and it'll pick
You
up
can
the
re-
manifest.
you can
Yeah,
restart
yeah, yeah.
Kubelet.
Would the
Let me do
daemon reload work?
The daemon
what?
reload. I think I do that in combination. Like you can probably do a daemon reload and just to be safe, do a restart of the kubelet. That may work.
So now that we're there, so let me go ahead and do right cuddle. Yes. Now look what we
There,
have.
there we go.
The Cube API server is back up, but let's just make sure it's running still. So cube get pods.
Yep.
All right. So we're able to get pods. Now we got the Cube API server up and running, right? And let's just go ahead and do k minus n for the namespace cube system. And we need to go ahead, let's get pods there because we need to make sure that the core DNS is actually running.
And it's
And
not.
as we see there are some issues with that. So we need to go ahead and let's edit those. Let's actually edit the deployment core DNS. So to do that, or you can edit the deployment, or you can do a set image. And I'm gonna do the set image so you guys can see how that works too. So you can either just go in here, go under specs, and then change the image name to registry at K8s, whatever, and update it to the 1.86. But to make it more interesting, we're gonna go and edit it via the command line. So I just needed to get that name of the container, which is core DNS. So put this core DNS. So we can do a K set image deployment. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't.
Yeah, you have to spell it out. You have to do like
Yeah,
deployment then backslash or
oh,
slash. It's annoying.
yeah. Let me just get in a cube system, set image deployment, and then the name of the deployment is um what was it called? Um,
Oh, you never got the deployment.
yeah, I was supposed to. Oh, it's core DNS. I'm tripping.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if like that be. Well, maybe is it that dash 5787. I see those two was the same. Well, I don't know.
No, that remember this is so this is the name of the deployment,
Mhm.
and this is the name of the replica set, and then
Okay,
this is unique pod name, and
got
that's
you,
what makes this a long list. So if you see something just like just core DNS, you more than likely it's just a pod.
got you,
If you
got you, got you.
see, yeah, and if you see anything that's like a 1 0 1 2 3 4 5,
Mhm.
that's more than likely going to be a stateful set because it goes in like order, it goes in numerical order number.
Mhm.
Um, that's something to look out for. So
Okay.
core DNS, and then I think it was what core DNS as a container.
Yeah, it's equal. I think you have to do
Equal.
equal. Then you
Yes,
then you put
equal.
the actual image. So you put
Yep.
I think yeah
hmm
that right there.
So kubectl minus namespace. So we're in a cube namespace, the cube system namespace. We're setting the image of the deployment, and the name of that deployment is named core DNS. Now the container in the deployment core DNS, we need to rename this the image named core DNS, and that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. And now the core DNS image has been updated. And now if I do a kget pods, let me just minus W to watch it. And we should see now what they say 7 seconds ago. Core
Yeah,
DNS is now running fine.
yeah.
So that looks good. And I think this section here should be okay as we confirmed. Yeah, so that section looks good. All those look good. And the next thing I guess we can move on here is just make sure our second node is running. So let me do a control C. Before we run over to node 1 to see what's going on, let's actually do kget no to see the status of the node. And look what we have here. So it says node 01 is ready, but it's scheduling disabled. So that means that although it's ready, no pods can be scheduled on that node at all.
Mhm.
And to make it schedulable again, there is this command called uncordon. And uncordon means that I'm making it available once again. Whenever you want to make a node unschedulable, you just can concordon it. So so K uncordon node 01. Now is back on the market and is ready for action essentially. And if we go ahead and do a get nodes again, it should just show that it's ready as you see there. So that should also make this check mark here and that's ready. And now we can get into the traditional stuff that we're already accustomed to that we should be able to get through fairly quickly, right? So first things first, it says, let's go ahead and go from the bottom up. Let's just go from this way on. So we need to go ahead and copy all images from the directory / media. So let's do a cat. Let's just do a cd / media ls. So we got 3 images, PNG, cocout images, right? So we need to go ahead and copy them to that node one. So from here to node one. So we can do something called an SCP, and I'm just gonna do a star. I'm gonna do star dot PNG just in case, because if there's anything else, in this case, I can just do star, and it's gonna move everything over. But just to make it interesting, I guess, you can do star dot SCP. So SCP is a secure copy. So CP secure copy, and we're just gonna copy that over to the other node. So to do that, we just do SCP, the name of the file or the content that we're trying to move over, and then we're just gonna do I believe it's what node. I may be doing this wrong. I always get it mixed up. Node one.
It's gonna be user at the location, so IP address or
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually much simpler, I think, in this case, because we've already like authenticated and everything. So let me just do / web. Again, I might be wrong on this, but so you're mentioning the node 01, and then this here colon is saying, okay, where is this? Where are you gonna move this stuff like to on this particular node? Boom, simple as that. But in your case, you are right. You will do the user at node one, and then that particular user, wherever their directory, whatever, is gonna go there. But this is just / web, so it'll be
is
um
it question PJ, is it that it's using the same user as the one that you're currently logged in as in that case?
yeah, because we have like passwordless login and stuff right there. So we already authenticated on both. That's why I can just do a SSH node
If you're
zero
the
one
same
without
user,
changing my
if
name.
you're the same user on both nodes, it'll just use your default user. It's only
Right.
issue. You only have to specify it. It doesn't matter. Like if even if you didn't
Mm,
log in, you only have to specify it if your name has changed on the other server. Because some people have two different accounts.
there
Okay,
you go.
that's what I figured. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jackie. Thank you. All right, awesome. So now if I go ahead and SSH into that one, node 01, and then ILS / what do we named it? Web, I believe. Yep, / web. You have our content in there. So if I just do a check, it should say that the details are in there. So that's good. So we're just moving on up the ladder. So now we need to go ahead, and it says that we need to create a persistent volume. So I know someone was asking about persistent volumes earlier.
Yeah, that was
So yeah, you
me
can
because I've been having difficulty doing that.
Yeah, so you want to create a persistent volume. So there's two things. So the persistent volume is just the volume itself. So essentially you have to think about it as a system admin, and you are setting up volumes to be consumed by your developers, for example.
Mhm.
Um, you can pre-create persistent volumes, and soon as someone requests it or a developer does a request, which is a persistent volume claim, they're asking for a volume to use on their pod. Hey, I need a 2 GB volume. Can you get that for me? That is someone requesting it. So that's going to be a persistent volume claim. The persistent volume is either you can set these up in advance, or based on their demand, okay, you're looking for that. Okay, I create that volume for you, which is going to be the PV, which is going to pretty much be done by the system admin, and the requests are going to be done by the developer in that situation. So let's go ahead and create a persistent volume. And I like to use the documentation on this. So let's do Kubernetes. I just I just do PV, right? And remember, shortcut everyone, Command F. We're gonna do kind space persistent. In this case, persistent volume and persistent volume claim is going to show up. But I use this every single time I go on this page. I don't change where I go. I go to the same exact example every time. I'm clicking it down to here and I'm copying up from storage class name, which I'm not even going to use, but I still copy it because it's just a habit. But what I need to do is a VI. I'm gonna name this pv.yaml. I'll paste it and then persistent volume, and I'm going to name it. So I'm just going to follow what it's telling me to do. So I need to name the persistent volume data PV, and we're just going to copy it because you can make mistakes. So it says read write many. So let's do read write many, and this means that many pods can read and write on this. So I know I was talking about data deer, so that's still an option, but this is how you can lock down who can access. So you're allowing um the multiple pods to be able to read and write as far as many pods, so not just one particular pod access this. And it's a file system, so it says persistent volume, it's data PV, and its host path is /web. Host path is storage class web. So before I go up there, let's go ahead and change the volume to 1 gig to match that. And let me go ahead and delete this. Right, so I'll just do O, and now I'm just going to do host path. Path, is it yeah, path. It's just path. Then we're just going to copy that path /web. So host path, you saying that it's a host path on this actual machine locally /web. And remember, we mentioned that we have that /web there. So it's going to pretty much say, hey, that file here is going to be mounted on there, mounted to this PVC. So that access, that those three pictures are going to be on this persistent volume that we're using. So it's already existing. All right, so that looks good here. Persistent volume. It didn't mention anything about a reclaim policy, but if it's fine, it shouldn't impact your answer to your question or your system. And you can change that to a couple of different things. But this looks good to me, right? So instead of me go ahead and just creating this file, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it a multi manifest file. And to do that, I just need to do three lines. So 3 dashes and then press enter. And then now this is looking at it as this is one file and I'm going to use another file. So I'm going to go back up here and go down to persistent volume claim, which I believe is like almost the same exact thing as just the kind is different, I believe, or something like that. It's not really a difference in them two. But let's paste this here now. So now I'm going to move over to the PVC. So this PVC is called data PVC. So I'm literally gonna do the same thing. Copy and paste, read write many. All right, I'm just gonna update that here to stay many. All right, storage, and persistent volume, data PVC, volume name, data PV. All right,
That's what I was missing.
you're having trouble with that, right?
Yeah, it's for me to link the claim into the persistent volume. That's the only thing I'm missing. I couldn't figure out why. I had got to work on my local, like my virtual
Mm-hmm.
machine, but when I try to do it on the actual like in Code Cloud for one of the challenges or for one of the
Mm-hmm.
labs, it was not working. So I'm trying to figure out what I was missing.
You had something wrong, like you had something mismatching because they
Yeah,
naturally they should bind.
so they should bind automatically, right? So
Yeah,
okay, so
they
that's what I
should
was
bind.
thinking. I don't remember going over like just manually binding them. They should automatically if everything matches correctly.
Yeah,
So
they should bind. Um,
mm,
but there is something called like a node affinity in here as well, right? So this is where you gotta get used to like searching up stuff here. So node TV volume, persistent volume. It's still taking me around that loop. Node affinity. Let's see. Is it in here? Because I found an example the other day.
Mm.
Node affinity, because it's node affinity required. And then I can like select the actual container because you may have like different volume, like different paths that you want, like not paths, but different nodes that you wanted to go specifically on, and you can use the node
Oh yeah,
affinity.
yeah,
But I think
Gotcha.
this one it doesn't volume name data PV. So I think because I want you guys to see this. Local volumes, we need explicitly set. For volume types, you need explicitly set local volumes. Let me see, is it here? Let me give me an example. Find through here. Post path. That looks good. Okay, node selector. No. And I may not find it because I'm looking for it now. All right. NFS. Port aux using subpath. No, it's not that. Yeah, this is not it. But this is gonna work anyway. This is gonna work. And I'm gonna show you here. So now that all looks good. Now I'm just gonna do Control X and do arcade create. Oh, I did that in the damn IPv. So I'm just gonna do a SCP. I feel like doing this again. So SCP pv.yaml, and I'm gonna move it over to what is it? Control plane. Control plane.
Yeah.
Oh, is
Uh,
it control plane?
uh, um,
Whatever. I'm gonna go cat pv, and I'll just copy it. Okay. So let me exit this.
I was
And
about to say
do
you could always go to another terminal, but that's what I normally
yeah,
do.
vi what is it? pv.yaml. Okay, create, and it's f b a get pv slash pvc. As you can see that there's no resources found. Okay, create f pv. Now let's run that command again. Let's see here. Status
Yeah.
bound. Status bound. The claim is bound because the access modes were the same. They didn't mention a storage class. If you have a storage class that's mentioned, both of them have to match for it to work.
I
And
want to.
also the capacity, as long as the capacity is not more than what the claim is not more than what the actual volume is, it would be okay. But since this is 1 gig, even if this was like half a gig or 200 megabytes or something,
Mhm.
it still would get that full 1 gig capacity because that's what the persistent volume has. So you can be you can be very wasteful depending on how big you make your persistent volumes and what the actual volume needs based on the request. So just keep that in mind too. So
All right,
now
Pete.
if I sorry.
I had a question in reference to that. So, I think I found out what was wrong. So let's just say the PV, for whatever reason, has a storage class. But the PVC it wasn't specified. If it's not specified, would it not like bind automatically, or would it just go to the default storage class?
It's gonna go to the default storage class, but it's always good to specify it. Um, but yeah, it should go to the default from what I believe.
Okay,
Don't quote me on it, but I believe that's what it would do.
that's why I want to make sure because the PV was already provided, and so I just have to
Mhm.
make the PVC. But when I made it, it wasn't binding; it was still pending. So I'm trying to see what what was mismatching because what all it needs to be
And
matches what the rewrite the and what
Yeah,
else
the access and the
the
amount.
yeah,
access and the
Make sure
it
you
has to
got
be
the
within.
amount you
Go ahead.
request. Yeah, you gotta make sure you the amount that you're requesting is not more than the PV as well.
Yeah,
hmm
and and then the storage class. Those are the three that need to match. Otherwise, everything else. And once those three matches, it automatically binds. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
But if you look at a storage class, this is important too because it still can be a point where it's like pending because the storage class has a specific thing here. It says what is it? Volume binding mode. So it can say wait for first consumer. So if you don't
Mm,
create that pod, it's not going to bind because it's the storage class for this settings for the storage class is saying I need to wait for my first consumer. So I need to wait for a pod actually to have to request this volume in order for it to actually bind in that case. So that's something
okay.
that you also have to look out for as far as this volume binding mode and what it's doing there. So
Okay.
that's something to look for. But yeah, so now that we did that, let's go ahead and just continue on and finish up here. So now we need to create a pod, and let's go ahead and see what the settings are. So okay, so let's do a K run. The name of the pod is GOP file server. All right, and then a dash dash image. It's gonna be here. I need to take away one of that here, and then need a mount path here, mount volume here, persistent volume claim used, and volume name. Okay, all right. So I can do dash dash dry run client output YAML. Then I can just redirect this to a file named pod or something. I'll just name a pod. You're doing the exam, just name it the number of the question that you're using. So if you're number five, just do 5.yaml. So when you go back and you double check in your work, you're not looking at something that just says PV, PVC. You don't know what number that one's on, and just mention it by the number of the question. So it'll be very easy to go ahead and go back and double check your work that you did. So that's super important. So what is this? Just name is pod for pod YAML. So if I do a VI pod YAML, edits here. So it said first off, it needs a volume. So I'm going to start with that volume and VOLUME. It looks weird. Volumes. All right. Name is going to be name of this volume is what? Persistent volume claim. Um, image mount path. Volume mount name data store. Data store, and then it's going to be persistent volume name. Name. And the claim name is going to be, what did we name the claim? It was named data PVC. So we named it data store. Says it's here, the persistent volume name. Oh, this is a persistent volume, the volume name. And then the claim is data PVC, which is what we named that data PVC. So Next thing we need to do here is create a mount path to / web. So I want you all to go ahead and do this part. So I'm under here, under image and name. So I'm just going to press enter. And then now I'm going to do what? What do I need to put here to mount this volume?
Volume mount with a capital M.
Volume.
Oh, and it has to be plural.
So it has to be what? Volume mounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then
So
name,
what's the name?
and then the path that you like that. Oh, then it's a path mount. Oh, you have to name it, of course.
Name has to be the same as the volumes, right? So data store.
That's right. It needs to match that name. That volume needs to match every time. You guys want to instill it in your mind. Name, volumes, and volume mounts name. Those are always gonna. It's actually easy to remember. It's easy to remember like that. Like, okay, the volume name. I know it has to be named this, but of course they're gonna probably want me to mount it somewhere, right? So mount path.
Unless you're choosing the directory that it's gonna be in.
Exactly. Where is this going to be appearing at in the on the volume? Where is it going? Like where is this pointing to? So then
Slash web, that's all I'm seeing. Yeah.
yeah, right. So does that make sense, you all? So we got that we named it locally here as the volume that we named it as its data store, but it's referencing the persistent volume claim named data PVC, which is in fact bounded to that data PV, that persistent volume. So that is what we're doing. And we now on the container, it's saying I want to mount that, right? So I need to reference volume data store and I need to point it to where I want it to go, which is this / web. So this part, I think we should be good. I think we named everything, create a pod, named that, go file, the image looks good. Didn't access to change the name of the container. / web is where we're gonna the volume mount path. Um, volume mount name, data store. That looks good. Persistent volume name, data store. Wait. Persistent volume name is data store. Oh yeah. That's right. And a claim name data PVC, which is the claim name here. All right. Let's see if there's anything. This okay. Create and stuff. Pod YAML. All right. So that's okay. Get pods. Let's see if there's anything on there. And it's mounted. Looks good. 1 out of 1. And if we do a K describe, we can also describe the GOP, and it should show that it actually did the mount and everything. Successfully pull the image. We go up here. Volume, persistent volume claim, a reference to a persistent volume claim in the same namespace. Claim name data PVC. So that looks good there. All right. So it looks good. So it mounted it. So that's perfect. So let's go ahead and just do a check. That's good. And we just got to do the last piece here is the service, I believe. Notice the two node cluster. We already did that. Okay, yeah, just saying, okay, the service name. So let's go ahead and create a service. It should be very easy to create services now. Services are not difficult to remember. I promise you. You do it a couple times, it should be memory. So I can do a K expose. Since we already have the pod name and all that, let's just expose it. Okay, expose, and then the name of the deployment, which is a pod. So expose pod, and then the name of the pod is what is it? GOP something, right? And
Mhm.
then dash name. So what is the name of this service, right? So
It'll
name of the service.
be the GOP
There you
FS.
go. And then it says port and target port. So I know when you're doing this, it can be super confusing. Like, okay, what is a port and what is a target port? Actually, I need to turn off my monitor. Let me turn this off. Don't want to have no burn in on this OLED. Um, so now we have the service name. So the port, when it's in reference to this, is the port outside of the container that is binding to. So um, port 80 here is going to say, okay, outside of the container is 8080, and that's going to translate to 8080 within the port. So the target port is always going to be inside of the container. So inside here, the port is going to be 8080. Out here is going to be 8080 as well, but they don't have to be the same. So all I need to do in this case is do dash dash port, because if I mention the port 8080 and I don't specify the target port is automatically going to go ahead and bind to the same port. Only unless the target port is different and maybe saying like it's 8080 on the outside, but inside the container may just be listening on port 80. I would have to do dash dash target um, dash dash target port equals 8080. But you don't have to do that. But I'm gonna do it just so you all see that it works. But actually, I'm just gonna not do it because you can see that it works without having to specify that port. And now, if I do kget service, and I never do kget service without EP, which is endpoint. So we can get the service and the pod that is connected to that service. So now if you look at it here, we have two endpoints. The Kubernetes is the default, which makes all pods communicate with each other. And then we have that endpoint GOPFS service, and this is the port of this is the pod that that is connected to this service. So it's going to be that pod named GOPFS pod, whatever I believe. So, well, yeah, GOP file server. That's going to be this IP address, and I can show you that by doing a k get pods minus o wide. You can see the IP should match up here. 10.244.192.1, and this is going to be that port there. And yeah, that should be good. So this is the internal port, and then right here is the external port, which is the port that the service is listening to pretty much. So that took care of that. So that's how you do ports. That's how you do services when you have an existing pod. You can create one like k create service and all that stuff. And then you can do like cluster IP or external name, load balancer, node port, and all that good stuff. And you can create it manually that way. But if you already have the pod, just go ahead and just do it expose and reference it by the dash dash n for name. And you can go ahead and just create that really easily. So let's go ahead and check it, see if it's any problem there. But there's still something ongoing. Something is not complete. Oh, so now it says the service name. The service needs to use the node port. Ah, okay. All right. So we need to edit that service. So k edit service. Name of that service is what GOP. So edit service, and then let me do this here, enter. So the difference between what I have right now as far as a cluster IP and a node port is the cluster IP is going to be internal only. So all the pods within the cluster, well, all the like nodes within the cluster are able to communicate. So if I look for something in this port 8080, it's going to automatically like find it. It's not gonna have any problem with that. But that's only internal communication. Say if someone outside of your network wants to go ahead and access your Nginx server, for example, they can't just put in your IP and do port 8080. What you have to do is set up a node port. Node port is just a way to communicate outside of your network. So it will actually bind that port 8080 to an ephemeral port, which is going to be in the range of 30,000 and 30, I believe it's what, 32,767, I believe. And what we are going to have to do in this case is I'm just going to save it and change it from the cluster IP to node port. And then let me go back. I have to edit it again And then now what you should see is it should say node port, and it should give me a random node port. In this case, it's 30,005, but I don't want it to be 30,005. I want it to be 31,200. So now I do X. Now my service is good to go. So now I'm able to go and see that. So now if I do the same thing, okay, get EP, what it's showing out at now is 31,200, and that's binding to port 8080. So hopefully that makes sense for you all there. And now we should be done. Congratulations. So we went through that. I know that was like a whole long process, but this is a really good exercise in my opinion. It tackles quite a bit of important things. This is like most of the stuff you're going to be experiencing in the exam. So if you get good at this, I'm telling you, trust me, not only just for an exam, you'll be good in the real world too, at least for the most part. You'll be in a lot better shape than most people. So that was that.
This
So
is,
that was
which one is this again?
this one is challenge lab Kubernetes
Okay.
challenges. So and this is a challenge number 2. So I hope you guys enjoy
Okay.
that. Real world is not real. We're in a simulation. Right. So we're simulating a simulation. And yeah. So I don't know what's real anymore anyway. Yeah, it's crazy. So great point there. But is there any questions, any comments or anything like that? Did you guys find this useful? Did you learn something new, or is there any other better way that we should have done something?
I'm
Let me
just
Nope,
hear
as
curious
this.
to know.
always.
Like,
Hey, I
Um,
got a quick comment. I know we
yeah.
did earlier with the kubelet and the manifest file. I did look it up. The kubelet is the one that creates the pods that are in those manifest directories. So if you restart, like if you ever get stuck like that and you restart the
Uh,
kubelet, that might be your solution.
so just restarting a kubelet should get you right.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right, awesome. And it
Oh,
just
you talking
pulls out
about
the.
the KP when we did the KP the Q API the
Yeah,
first
it
thing? Okay.
wouldn't read it for whatever reason.
Good to know. Good to know. All right, cool. Yeah, so I won't have to do other stuff as far as moving a file over and putting it back in. So that's useful. I think you're gonna say something, Brian, as well.
I was just curious to know, like, the Code Cloud account. Is that like just trying to see if it's something I can also get on as well. If you could tell me more
Yeah.
about that.
Oh, yeah. So this is it's a paid account. I think I have like the premium account, I believe. It's a couple $100 a year. I think it's like over a little bit over 200. It's less than 250, I think. But it's about 200 plus dollars a year. And you have like full access to multiple things. So it's not just like Kubernetes related, it's like a lot of DevOps stuff too.
Yeah.
But it's very useful, very much so worth it. I use it quite often. If it's a little bit too much for you or you want to experiment something else, they have this other thing as well called um, Code Engineer, I believe it's called Code Cloud Engineer. And you can use this here and you can do this for free. And this option, let me show you how this looks here. I haven't logged in a while, so it's probably going to tell me let's see what it says. Okay. And it's pretty much simulation as if you were in a real world job. So you get daily tasks, and you can pretty much just like say, hey, okay, I want the free version. They only let you do like one task a day, I believe that's what the limit is, but it's something cool that you can go ahead and like practice and stuff. So I'm just going to click one just to show you. Let me end it and show you how it looks. Haven't done this in a super long time, but this is a free option that you can take advantage of, especially if it's a little bit out of your desired budget. And yeah, and there's like monthly payments you can do as well, like $20 or something a month as well. I just do the full amount for the year, and that, like, it's a little bit cheaper. It's a lot cheaper doing it that way.
Hmm.
As well. You refresh this, but hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Of course, man. Is this why is it not? I don't know what this is doing. Um, Let me, like, I guess exit off of this. Yeah, it's related to that. And let me just refresh again. But I just want you guys to like see like how it does your checks and stuff. Yeah, it's just been a couple years because I actually was doing this before I paid for it, and that's why I was like, you know what, this is actually fun, and I'm like learning a lot. So it was worth the coins. But they do have some type of promotion sometimes, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And actually, I believe mine is renewing in like in a month, so gonna have to do that.
Hey Patrick. Hey Patrick,
Hey, what's
got
up,
a
man?
question for you, man. So two questions. Actually, number one, how
Mm-hmm.
long did you study for the exam, and
Mm.
what were your intervals? Like how long per day,
Ah,
right?
good, good
And
question.
then for how long?
Mm, good
The
question.
reason
Good
I'm
question.
asking is because
Yeah.
I think I posted 2 days ago. Oh, was it yesterday? Actually,
Yeah.
that was today or something. They changing the policy on the exams.
Yeah, so for those who didn't see the message, they are, what is it? The Linux Society. I forgot what they're called, but
Yeah,
um
the
they're
foundation.
yeah, the Linux Foundation. I should know that. The Linux Foundation is changing the exam length. So like if you were to get certified, it was 3 years. Now they're reducing it to 2 years for the CKA and the CKAD. The CKS has already been 2 years off automatically, so that's no change in that. But until April, the beginning of April, I believe. So if you take it now between now and April, you'll have an additional year. So you have 3 years instead of two, as far as your actual certification being renewed. So if you can, I would highly suggest you guys ramp up and put in a lot of work now so you can get that additional year by taking it, before April 1st or something like that. But to answer your question, how long did I like so I started studying in about like in July, I believe, like July, August, and I studied as far as per day. It wasn't too often until like the end of like around the end of the year. I was like really like serious about it. Because it was like it was very difficult. I'm not gonna lie. It took a while to wrap my head around a lot of this stuff. So I would say I was like looking at it, just teasing myself, just saying, okay, what is this about? Just playing videos, not even really understanding what's going on, but just seeing what I should expect. And the difficulty of it. So I looked at it for about a cool month there. I did a training that took me about every day. I'll probably watch 30 minutes, 45 minutes on it a day. And I started off with this here. Let me go to CKA. Let me go Code Cloud. But I studied for about 30 minutes a day. Then I started ramping up until I just got bored of watching the videos because it was like quite long. So I would just try to like watch this here, this part, and like just time myself really. And I used to fall asleep on half of it, to be quite honest. I just used to watch it to sleep, and just rewatch what I missed or whatever. So I would say on like full studying about 3 months, 3 months, um, 3 good focused and intentional months of studying. And the last month, what I did was every single day I did the CKA exam, like the practice exam. So the exam that the thing I started with was here. Let me just go here and look at my history. Um, Let me go back here. It's probably like one of the first few I did. So was it this one? It wasn't this one. It's like a beginner course of Kubernetes. It's like the intro to Kubernetes. Um, Let me see here, and I'll post it in the chat as well. And I'll also post it on the YouTube too for those who are interested. But it was CKA course DevOps. Was it the prerequisite course I took? Um, Dang. Let's see. CKA. I get. All right. So where is it? there's a beginner course. I don't think it's in here. Terraform basics. But it was like a very beginner Kubernetes course that I took, and it kind of just got me prepared. But most of the stuff was repetitive of the actual exam, the actual course. So I just did the regular course. That was like super helpful to get my bearings on, so I wasn't just jumping in like just without knowing anything. So I watched that through and through, and then I went ahead and went over to doing the actual course for the CKA. Once I was done with that, I jumped into the Ultimate Certified Kubernetes exams or something like that here. I believe maybe this or something. Um, well, this is the CCAD, but this same thing. I took that, but I did one every day. Every single day I took it. So, and for about 2.5 weeks, I did one a day, and I did the same one like 2 or 3 times. So if I did bad on it the first time or I missed something, I'll refresh it and redo it again and redo it again and redoing it again until I found, my mojo. So the amount I did was just whenever I had free time, honestly. So if you can put in a good amount of a good month and a half, 2 months, you would be in good shape. Again, you don't have to get 100% on the exam. You got to get a 67%. So if you can get the most majority of the things done here, like understanding how to how to check the logs of a pod, and redirect it to a file, being able to look at the top, CPU usage or the top memory usage on a pod, but using a QTO top node or top pods, right? Being able to identify, you know, um, like what's wrong with sorry with the pod. Why isn't a pod running? Being able to look at if it says an image pull back off, that means that something's wrong with the image. It can't pull down an image, right? Being able to install the kubelet, like updating the kubelet and updating the actual nodes, as well as doing the CD backup. You are already like 50% there, just on those things. So it's important just to master those things. And I would say the day before you take the exam, just watch and practice the etcd backup and restore, as well as the as far as like the cluster upgrade. And on the exam, I only had to upgrade the control plane, so that was the only thing that I was required to do. And I was able to go ahead and knock those out because I did it literally the day before as far as practice. So it was very easy. Those are easy points for me to get. So just know what you're struggling with. If you're struggling with volume mounts and stuff like that, do more volume mounts. It's like literally what God says, like, hey, if you want to be patient, God is going to test your patience. He's not just going to make everything easy for you to be patient on something that's not difficult. So you got to tackle it head on, and you'll be good. So that was a long-winded damn question, but god damn, that was like 10 minutes long. But I want to give you all the information I did to go ahead and prep for this. And if I had to do it again over, I would do the same thing again. Just be consistent, be um be deliberate in what you're doing, and don't just do it because you just joined. Don't If you're joining me every Wednesday and you're not doing anything outside of the week and you're just joining these sessions, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing yourself a major disservice. You should come in here. That's why I be wanting more people to have actual questions. So you've done your work, you've done your stuff, and you just come in like just for updates, like, hey, I was struggling with this a little bit, but that means at least you were putting in a little bit of work. I know we have jobs, and we have things that are occurring in our lives and stuff, but if you put in a little bit of that work, instead of watching 30 minutes of your favorite show, just put in that same 30 minutes and watching a couple of those videos, you'll be done in no time. It's just taking your time and putting it a part of your daily schedule, and trust me, you'll be more fluent and quicker than you would assume. Trust me. So hopefully that answered your question, probably a little bit too into depth.
Yeah, no, you answered the question. The only difficulties that I see with this is that when you get to the job site, honestly,
Hmm.
it's a different animal.
Absolutely, I totally agree. This exam is
Like
actually
they
easy.
never do
I'm not even
like
gonna. It's easy.
Like like at work we doing Helm.
Yeah, yeah. It's Helm
Like
is
everything is Helm. Like they want you to have charts and then sub charts, and then
yeah,
those sub chat they should connect to other applications, and then it should also have like variables and stuff within the Helm charts.
yep,
Like
yep.
it's craziness.
It's
It's
not
like
easy.
there's
Trust
no
me.
there's
I
no
deal with this stuff every day.
kubectl. There's no such thing as kubectl.
No, because you should not be changing a file, a manifest file from the CLI at all. Everything should be GitOps styled, so everything needs to be either from a manifest file that's
Repository.
inside a GitHub repository or
Yep.
inside like a Helm chart that you're
Yep.
updating. So
Yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
that's why I'm like, all right, we'll see how this goes, but
Don't stretch yourself too much. I think honestly, you get the main things there, um, and you'll be good. Like it's literally not that hard. People make this up to be like this the most difficult. I feel like my SAA, my solution, my security, my solutions are my AWS security specialty was harder, way harder than this. I
oh
never really
yeah,
done. Yeah, it was definitely harder than this to me, in my opinion. But your mileage may vary. I was a security like focused person, and that was pretty intense. But this one, it wasn't difficult because I put in a lot of hours into the exam practice,
yeah,
and during those practice exams are going to get you more than what you need to go because they're literally the same exact type of questions.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so hopefully so don't be afraid, man. You do it. I promise you, do it before
I'm
April.
not. I'm
Yeah.
honestly not afraid. I've taken
Mm.
like Rail 8 RSCSE exam, so this is not like something.
Yeah, and that I feel like is even harder. Like that, I looked at some of
It's
those things. I'm like, man,
yeah.
I'm not really excited
Like
if I
right
was.
now,
Yeah.
after this, literally, I have to jump into my RHCA class.
Oh, okay, all right,
Yeah,
yeah. That's you got to send me some information on that. I might
yeah.
just listen in just to see what it's about.
The
Curious.
architect, the Red Hat architect exam.
Ah, yeah, that
Yeah,
doesn't
which
sound
means
fun
you have to pass. Which means you have to have like at least three rail certs
to even qualify to take it.
to even qualify. Yeah,
Wow.
That's
Dang.
impressive, Sam. Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck, man. Good luck. So I'm just gonna wrap up. We can continue talking. Let me just wrap up the actual the
yeah,
video, and we can go ahead and just go off talk offline. So thank you all for those who stayed with us. We do appreciate you joining our sessions. Again, this is the case cadence, and we are here to help you all get certified in the CTA exam, the Certified Kubernetes Administrator exam, and more, and just getting you prepared for the job as far as world and excuse me, just being able to boss up and to get certified. So thank you again for watching. If you have any questions, definitely leave it in the comments. And yeah, thank you again, and continue to strive forward.
Thanks, bud. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.